Hey YouTube, this is Dr. O. Today we're working on a 2004 Pontiac Vibe. It came in with a complaint of a noisy rear end, or noise in the rear end, loud howling, growling noise, similar to that of an airplane engine, the lady said. At any rate, we put the car up on the lift, and ran it for a little while, come under here with a stethoscope, and we could locate the noise to be coming from the rear differential here. It sounded to be in the front half, the lighter colored portion here. That's the Viscous coupler. There's a couple bearings in there. We're going to take and pop that apart and see what we discover. Okay YouTube, you can see that we've removed the Viscous coupler. It just involves removing the 4 bolts from the drive shaft and then removing the 4 bolts from the Viscous coupler and wiggling it off the rear differential. Here's what it will look like when you get it off on the bench. Make sure you have some rags underneath it, as it'll drip. When you have the Viscous coupler out, what we have to do is separate the Viscous coupler out of the housing. So there should be 2 bearings on it. We're going to have a bearing here on the rear half, which you can see isn't there. That was still stuck in the differential on the car, so I took and removed that. It's pretty obvious when you rotate it that this is junk. So in order to separate it, just kind of do what I did. Stick a couple blocks of wood there. Stick your housing up on it. Use a brass punch and hammer. We're gonna drive right here on the center, well, on the sides of the Viscous coupler here. Don't hit it directly in the center. Don't hit it on the tin outer edge. Hit it right between the threaded bolt holes there, and it should pop right out. So once that comes out, you can see you've got your whole Viscous coupler here. You've got the other bearing I was talking about. And now we're gonna get the tools necessary to remove that bearing. I don't know if there's really any special tool to remove this. There's probably some sort of puller you can use. These bearings aren't pressed on, so they come off relatively easy. I use a punch or a chisel and a hammer. And just kind of work your way around it, working back and forth. Doesn't take a whole lot. Work the bearing off. And like I say, once you get them off and you spin them, it's pretty obvious what the problem is. Got the front bearing, rear bearing. We're going to get the new ones, put it back together. I got them right through GM, from Japan. We're going to go ahead and install those. So the bigger bearing, the outer one, make sure you put the orange side towards the Viscous coupler. Just go ahead and set it on there. Start tapping it around. You're going to want to use a brass punch. Don't damage the seal on it, and make sure the edge of your punch is good and square. And just start working your way around the bearing. Now go ahead and flip it over. Once you have this bearing installed, start the smaller bearing on the other side, using the same method. Now that you've got both your bearings installed on the Viscous coupler, flip it over so the big side's up. We're going to put the housing back on. Just look inside the housing. Make sure that all the junk's cleaned out of there. Use a little piece of emery cloth if you have to, just kind of clean it up. So just go ahead and set that on there loosely. Should kind of self-align. And then just, if you have to, just go ahead and start tapping it on that bearing. Now that you've got your housing back on the Viscous coupler, it should turn smoothly without any noise. Should be fully seated on there. The last thing you want to do is put on your dust ring. You can reuse the old one if you like. I always purchase a new one in case I damage them, take them apart. Just set it up on the end of it, and again, just work around it with the hammer. It's going to fit flush on the end of the Viscous coupler when it's all finished. Simple as that. The Viscous coupler is now all assembled, new dust shields on, new bearings are on both sides, and we're going to reinstall it in the car. Okay YouTube, we're back into the car. We got to look here. We're at the rear differential where the viscous coupler is going to go. A couple things you're going to look at here. Just go ahead and have a look at the seal, make sure that seal's in good condition. And also note there's a couple washers that go in here first. The first one in, if this fell out when you remove the viscous coupler, is the flat washer. So stick your flat washer up in there. Just go ahead and set it in the housing. Next, you got a concave washer. Okay, if you're wondering what way that's going to go, this one has an orange paint mark on it that goes out, but the curved side goes out, so it's flared out towards you. So it's going to go just like this. I don't know if you can see the profile of that or not, but that's going to go in there like that. Okay, set that up in there. So next, you're going to want to go ahead and look at the housing here. If there's a lot of corrosion and crap on there, just go ahead and get that cleaned off first. Make sure your dowel pins are installed and cleaned off. And just kind of note that when you put this together, there's two things that need to line up, or three things actually. You got the outer part of the housing here needs to line up, the bearing that's going to sit in here needs to line up, and the dowel pins need to line up. So just, go about it gentle. Don't force this together. Don't use a hammer. Just it should wiggle together. When it's flush, put all your bolts in it and then snug it down. Okay, simple as that, YouTube. Get the viscous coupler back in. You should be able to rotate the wheel, have the viscous coupler turn smoothly, freely, quietly. The next step is going to be double check the gear oil and the rear differential. You can see that we lost a little bit when we had the unit out. Shouldn't be much, but just go ahead and top that off, put your drive shaft back in, and enjoy the ride.